this video that we're going to see, I don't want to forget to say it, was heroically made by Anne. She is not a videographer. I know you'll be shocked to hear that. She actually has a completely different career, but she did a great job on her video. Okay, let's watch the video.
Welcome. My name's Ann Chambers, and this is my husband, Ed McAlpine, and welcome to our home. This video tour will cover two broad topics. The first is our green home features, and the second is a tour of our native garden with particular emphasis on the keystone plant. So we're going to get started talking about our green home features, and really there's two of those. The first is our Tesla solar roof and battery system, and then the second is I'm going to bring you into my kitchen, and I'm going to show you my induction cooktop. So to get started on the solar roof, I'm going to hand it over to Ed, who's going to talk about how we decided on it.
Thank you. When we were first looking for a new roof, it was triggered not by a desire for solar, but because we had a structural issue with a heavy tile roof on low-pitch rafters that was somewhat overstressed. And I began looking for a new roof that was going to be lighter weight, strong, and my other requirement was that it be fire or ignition resistant. And as I was doing my research, I discovered that Tesla manufactured a roof that was not solar panels, but the actual tiles that made up the roof itself were active photovoltaics. And after a little more research, that's what we decided on, and that's how we ended up with a Tesla solar roof. All right, here we are looking down at the roof. As you can see, the roof is made up of individual tiles. They look like shingles from a distance, but they are in fact a tile made out of a glassy material. On the south side of the roof, about 2/3 of them are active and 1/3 are dummies. And here you can see from the south side. Okay, welcome to my garage workshop. This is the infrastructure for the solar roof. These are the Powerwalls. There are two of them. They're basically large batteries. They're set on the floor, then anchored to the wall, and they've been paired one over the other. This is the inverter, which takes the current from the roof and converts it to appropriate waveform and voltage. This is the controller. And this actually distributes the power, according to the way that it's programmed, and acts as a gateway to shut off the system from the grid if the grid goes down and operate independently, and features such as that. And this is a load center. It's a 100 amp load center. It operates the entire house, or everything that's run through solar. The house originally had a 200 amp load center because it had a pool and some other current drains which aren't around anymore. So it's been bypassed. It's still there and could be reused, but basically this mirrors the functions that it had and takes care of distributing power to the house. The batteries we have set at a 20% reserve. The batteries even out the power usage, between day and night, so that during the day we collect energy and at night it draws from the batteries. But because one of our objectives is to have some resilience in the case of power outages, we've actually set a floor of 20% on battery discharge. So the batteries will only discharge down to 20%, and at that point they'll draw upon the grid. But that's completely up to the user to change or reprogram. We could set it to 0 to cut our power usage, but that's the choice we've made. Okay, here is a screen save of the Tesla app from a phone, which shows the graphic they give you. And it basically shows that the roof is generating 1.8 kilowatts, the home is using 0.4, and it shows the distribution of the power from the roof. It shows that we're not giving anything back to the grid and that 1.4 kilowatts are going to the Powerwall and that it's charged at 56% right now.
So to recap on our solar roof and battery system, we've had it about 9 months, and we've found that in the long summer days that it captures more than enough energy to power us day and night. In fact, in August, we were finding that we captured about 50% more than we needed to power the house in any one day. And so that, of course, goes back to the grid. However, when we get to the shorter days of the winter, we do not capture enough to power us for a whole day, and we do have to draw from the grid. We found that in December we needed about 50% of our power to come from the grid. Now, we think when we true up with PG&E at the end of a year, that we will, on balance, have delivered more energy to the grid than taken it. And we hope to get a rebate, of course. Now, the second thing that the system has been wonderful for is the resilience to power outages. For whatever reason in our area, we seem to get a lot of unplanned power outages. For example, people can, run into a power pole on the windy roads here. And since we've had this system installed, we've had many power outages, and 4 in particular were more than an hour. And in all cases, we didn't notice a thing. Maybe there was a little flicker, and we would get a text from Tesla telling us that there was a power outage and Tesla was taking over. But otherwise, we haven't, everything just continues on as usual. So for that, we are very grateful for the energy independence that we have. Welcome to my kitchen. We're going to go into the segment to talk about and show off my induction cooktop, which is about a year old. So by way of background, in 2011, when we remodeled the kitchen, since I'm a big cook, I got a fancy gas burner range with a high BTU burners. But I have to say, I found that they really had some limitations. And for example, for the burners, you can't really modulate it so that it both simmers and goes to very high heat at the same time. So when the range stopped working and it really didn't make sense to fix it, we decided to go with induction. I had used it at a friend's house, and I was pretty familiar with it. So let's talk about this a little bit. This is a glass top. It's all electric. It's using electromagnetism to heat as opposed to thermal heat that you'll get with gas. So this one has 4 burners. And why don't you're going to come in a little bit and we'll talk about some of the controls. Here's how some of the controls work. First, you have to put your finger down on this lock. So what is great is you have to really unlock all these controls. You can't have, in some cases I've seen cats can walk across the top and get it started. So in this case, it's great because you have a lock against that. And then what you do is you put your finger on the, so in this case, I'm heating up this this burner. And in this case, there's a boost element. And so it boils water, I think, in 4 minutes. But the key thing is you can modulate the heat extremely rapidly. So, just with a touch of the finger up and down, and it's even, steps down and up very evenly. So it really makes for much better cooking actually than the gas cooktop that I had previously. One of the other things that's great is if you take off the pot, it will not continue. It will turn itself off automatically. So, which I love because from time to time I've screwed that up in our gas stove and left the gas burner on. One of the other great things about it, of course, is it's not very hot. It doesn't, generate heat and all the various vapors and things that a gas oven does. So, the final thing, the final benefit is it cleans up very easily. So you can just clean it up as a glass cooktop. So with that, I think those are really, so all in all, I love it. It's way better than the gas stove.
All right, well, that was great. Thank you so much. So there were some questions that came in during the video. One question that I have is, have you seen much of a difference in your PG&E bills since you put your solar panels on?
Yeah, we have. It's like zero for electricity.
Right. There's a true up that's coming in October, but basically because on average we're giving them more power than we're taking, what we get is a notice that the $9.99 or $10 that is the basic hookup charge has accrued, but we're not actually billed for it at the time. It's all put off till the yearly true up because we're contributing to the the grid.
Yeah. So let me say that we have solar panels too, my husband Mike and I, and our bills have ranged between $17 and $53 over the last year because we also are putting more energy into the grid than we use. And I know Stephanie has solar panels and her bills have been about, well, we all have the $10 per month hookup charge, but her bills have been $4 a month because all she has left is her stove. And she's just not using much gas. Let's see. So how do you like your induction range, Anne?
Oh, I love it. I love it. No complaint. I mean, way better than gas, than the fancy, chef kind of gas stove.
Yeah, there's no parasitic extra heat from running it, so that the energy is going into cooking. It's not making that end of the kitchen unlivable on a warm day or anything like that. So it's a lot more seamless.
Well, actually, I like it from a cooking point of view because you can often with the high BTU cooktops, you can't really, might cook really, very hot, right? But then you can't get it down to a simmer all in the same on the same burner. But with this, I just tap it a little bit and it goes down a little bit. I mean, it's super also responsive. Yeah.
I have an induction and range as well, and we also very much enjoy our induction range. Can you talk for just a moment about your pots and pans?
Well, I was lucky. So they have to be magnetic, and you can test whether they're going to work by just seeing if a magnet, sticks to them. I'm lucky because I have I have cast iron, which is magnetic, and then I have all clad. And so I only had a couple of pots that had copper in them that I couldn't use. So we were lucky, and I only bought like one. So
Anne had all clad pots. We had to buy new pots when we got our induction range, and we got Tramontina, which is a very nice pot. So let's see, someone asked if you have air conditioning.
We do not, actually. We use a whole house fan, which we just installed actually last year. I didn't know about them. So between a whole house fan, which draws in the cooler air outside, usually at night. And so it's very effective at that. Between that and then a ceiling fan and then attic fans, we've kind of got it down. And then, of course, we just close everything up when it gets very hot. But we do not.
We have a long-term plan to replace the current gas furnace with a heat pump arrangement, which would provide us with air conditioning just by reversing the flow. But our service guy found us a very good deal. Unfortunately, it's still stuck on a ship someplace in the logistics disaster. So we have no idea when that's going to get installed. Yeah.
Okay. Let me just tell people quickly that we've talked about heat pumps a lot yesterday and this morning. And if you'd like to learn more about heat pumps, I did a webinar with Amy Kaiser from the East Bay Green Home Tour last fall. And if you go to the Bringing Back the Native Garden Tours YouTube channel, you can watch that webinar and learn more about how great heat pumps are. We have one. And also, I didn't know before, well, until this last year, that 20% of the homes in our country use heat pumps for heating and cooling. They're common in the South. They're just not so common here in California, but they're starting to catch on. So someone asked if you have changed your habits with regard to using power in your house since you have your solar system installed.
And we actually, we used to try to use it on non-peak hours and things. We signed up for that PG&E thing. Now we don't worry about it. In fact, sometimes I walk around and I'm turning off lights like I'm used to for my whole life. And then I think, oh, well, I don't really have to worry about it. We've got more than enough. So it's
you have
affected us
both
that.
more than enough, and you're also storing your own energy
Right,
in your
exactly.
own battery. So when you use it, you're just pulling from your battery and then you're replenishing the battery the next day. So I'd like to also answer that question and say that we're also on a solar panel time use deal where it's much less expensive for us to use energy from midnight to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then it becomes more expensive. So it's not a big deal. I just throw in my laundry in the morning. We make sure our dryer load is finished before 3, I think it is. Yeah, 3 o'clock is when it increases. We set the dishwasher to run after midnight. So they're small things. They're not necessary because we really have like such a low, or at True Up will have no PG&E bill, but I feel like I just want to give as much energy as possible back to the grid. I feel like our climate crisis requires that all of us try to give energy back to the grid. If you have a roof that can take it, get solar panels. They're fantastic. It's so fun to watch how much energy you make. It's so great to feel like you're contributing energy back to the grid so it doesn't have to come from a dirty source later on. So it's not necessary, but it just makes one, at least us, like more interested in doing the right thing for the climate. So I want to thank you for being with us today and sharing your garden and supporting the tour. It's just been really great to have met you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. The Environmental Protection Agency estimates that on average, each American uses over 4 pounds of pesticides a year. A few things to know about pesticides. Pesticides put the health of our children and our pets at risk. Children are especially sensitive to toxic chemicals because children are small and they play in the garden. Studies have found increased health risks among families that use lawn and garden pesticides, especially among children and pets. And just so you know, no pesticides are used in any garden on the virtual or in-person tour. So it's not hard if you put the right plants in to have a garden where you don't even want to use any pesticides. Let's go now and watch the video from the Alameda County Clean Water Program.
What a beautiful day.
There you are. Geez, you're far from the creek.
No, it's closer than you think. I'm just taking a little me time.
Aren't these gardens full of weed killer, bug spray, and other scary stuff?
Nope, this is a pesticide-free garden.
I've got kids and pets to protect.
That means no chemicals will get washed into the storm drain.
Which means no pollution in the creek or the bay. And keeping good bugs alive is good for the garden and good for my belly. Excellent food, sir. Mwah.